Chad credited the difference in third down defense this week to the improved tackling in space and things like that. That seems to be the common theme when something's gone wrong for the defense. It goes back to tackling, and when something corrects itself, it's correcting the tackling. But how do you find more consistency in that area of the game?
Well, when you look at us throughout the season, we've been pretty good tacklers. When you look at the game that we didn't play well, we were not. We didn't tackle well. And when you just go back and you base it on the fundamentals, and a lot of times we sit here and we say things which are almost too simple to be true, but it comes back to fundamentals. It comes back to getting a line. It comes back to communication, and like you alluded to, it simply comes back to tackling in space, because today's offense, what they do is they want to spread you out and they want to make it a one-on-one tackling situation, and somebody's going to have to do that at some point in the game. Well, defensively, we talk about effort. We talk about the fact that we don't want to ever have our guy in a place like that, our teammate in a place where he's one-on-one alone and I'm watching him, because that's what had to happen if you got a guy out in space and there's not a great amount of effort, a great amount of pursuit coming to the football. So we preach to our guys about pursuing to the ball, but ultimately there's a lot of one-on-one tackling in space, and if you get it done, you'll have a good showing defensively, and if you don't, then they'll gain extra yards. And to improve on third down, we did that. That was a key emphasis, which it always is for our defense, is to perform on third down. We talk about on third down, if it's 3rd and 1 or if it's 3rd and 21, the next play they have to be punting, or they're going for it on 4th down, and that's another issue. So third down is vitally important, and our guys throughout the season, I think, have done a much improved job on third down.
Considering everything he does for your defense, what was your reaction when you saw Jordan Wyatt lying on the ground twice the other night?
Well, both of those times I was lying on the ground after I saw him. He is a very important piece to our defense, but he's one of 11 guys. He does his job at a different level, and so whenever you see him in a situation where there's a struggle physically, that's a little bit scary. But we had the opportunity. I call it opportunity. We had the opportunity to put some other guys in the game. As a coach, you never want to put your true freshman out there, Justin Guy Robinson, but he has to be out there, because one of these days I'm going to be depending on him. And if I wait until that day to put him out there, then I'm going to be just as nervous as I ever was. So, sometimes God forces you into places, and everything's okay,
When Jordan first got here, he was a safety, and now obviously has done everything he's done at corner. Why is he better suited to be a corner than a safety? And what do you see as his ceiling?
Well, I think during those times he was an inexperienced safety. He could probably be a pretty good safety right now with experience, and I think that's part of the reason that you don't trash kids. You don't, when they're freshmen and they're making mistakes and they look bad. A lot of freshmen look bad. There are very few across the country that walk in, that leave high school and walk in and do well. We've had a few here who've done a great job, but there's very few of those kids. Most of them, in the recruiting process, they want you to tell them that they're the greatest thing ever, and they're going to win the Heisman their freshman year. And then when they see the speed of the game, and they have to get accustomed to that, they come back to reality. So that's what happened to Jordan, but that's what happened to a lot of guys, especially on our defense. Guys like Anthony Roan and Mason Gentry, if you go back and watch their film from that year, it wouldn't look good, and I had to come in here and smile, and I watched their film, now I'm smiling in a different way. It's a real smile, because I get to see the fruit of that labor, those Jordan Wyatt plays where he couldn't tackle a soul or he couldn't cover a soul, but experience has helped him, and a lot of hard work on his part has helped him develop into the player he is today, as well as, like I said, some of those other guys.
You mentioned Mason Gentry. He got back in the lineup this week. What did you think of his performance after you got a chance to look at it on film?
Well, I wasn't born in 1957, but if you had an old 1957 Chevy and you just left it out in the rain and it got rusty, well, that's what Mason looked like for a couple of those plays. But he that was a great one. But he eventually is going to get back into shape. We knew that Mason wouldn't play a lot of plays like we talk about all the time. The bigger guys, you want to roll them, you want to rotate them. But he was in there and he performed well. He felt good after the game as I talked to him about what he was able to do with the short time that he was in there. We just want to continue to have him progress. Fortunately, we're not in a situation from a depth standpoint where he's got to be out there every play.
Through 4 games this season, do you feel like going into conference play a need to add some wrinkles or some different looks to the defense, just now that there's been so much film on you guys for other teams to look at?
Well, we've had some plays where we've been really bad, so we're going to try to get those corrected so that the opponent won't see those. The future opponents won't see those. But now, to answer your question, we are really looking to do simple better. And coaches probably stood up here and said that, but that's the quest is to get our guys to know what they're doing. And you know what? To be a great coach, to say that hey, I just created this new blitz, that's exciting in the film room, in the game planning room. But when you go out and have your players executed, there's a lot that comes along with that. We have a lot of defense. We got a playbook that's bigger than this table, but it's not about what we can draw up and what we can scheme up. It's more about what our guys can execute. And we have a little package that we can execute, and we can execute it well, and we're going to be pleased with that. And the opponent, there's some, I'm not a basketball coach, but John Wooden and guys like that, they didn't have like extensive playbooks. They just did simple better. They got their guys to outplay your guys, and their guys understood what they were doing. And I think that is much more important than, creating something new and, being sexy, although I am a sexy guy.
So UConn's coaching staff comes from the same lineage as Chad and with the Malone connection. Has going up against the SMU offense and practice so often, has that helped you prepare for this UConn game?
It has, because when you watch the video, you see so many things that are similar, and our players will begin to recognize that. But they have different players than we do, and they have some injuries that they're dealing with. So our guys, honestly, as we have practiced against an offense that is much like theirs, that gives them a little bit of comfort, but it's more about what we do. It's more about how we get ourselves aligned, how we communicate, how we tackle in space. And so we're going to focus hard on that, and we're going to give our guys tips and clues that we have, gotten from our offense that'll help them in the game. But more than anything, it's going to be about how we get ourselves aligned and how we perform when that ball snaps.
Corners, as a rule, are usually very confident guys, and Eric Sutton had Arkansas State took some shots at Eric the other day. How did he respond to that?
Yeah, well, when Eric came to the sideline, I think, part of it is, as a coach, you have to understand, okay, those guys are 6'7", and Eric is 5'7", and so you have to do things within the scheme to be able to protect him. But when it comes down to it, the offense can find who they want to find. And so when they made a point that they were going to attack Eric, I just brought him over to the sideline and I said, listen, this is going to be a long game if you don't stand up and defend yourself. and the next play he went out and he had a pass breakup. And you know, it's just about playing his technique better. There are things that guys who are not 6'3" and 6'4" playing a cornerback position, you have to teach them when they're going against a taller dude. And we've worked through those things with Eric. So it's all about, at that point, going back to his training. And, you know, when they catch a ball on, well, they caught the ball on Eric, and he was in good coverage. Both balls that they caught on him, he was in good coverage. So it's just about playing his technique just a little bit better. So he goes back out. 2 plays later, I think it was, they attacked him again, and he got the ball out. So, and they didn't really come back to him again after that. So I think the confidence that that young man plays with, the understanding that, you know, when you play this position, because we talk about it all the time, when you play this position, whether they're attacking you or not, you live life on the edge. And, you know, they're going to make some plays when you live that way. They're going to make some plays, and you're going to make some. And we don't have a full-time counselor on the sideline to be able to get you ready for the next play. So you got to let it go. And when you make a good play, it's the same thing. You got to let it go and move on to the next one.
When you look at your defensive line, obviously everybody knows about Justin Lawler, and Demarie Mixon's gotten some attention, and Pono Davis and all these guys. But Tyson Niels has come in and is tied for your team lead in sacks. I think he's got 3 through the first 4 games. Other than just effort, what does he do well?
He's just a consistent player. You know, I actually teased him maybe yesterday or 2 days ago about the fact that he doesn't wear a towel, he doesn't wear wristbands, he just kind of wears a uniform. I don't know if he even wears socks. And he just kind of shook his head and said, hey, that's just who I am. And he's just a solid player. He does his job, he doesn't talk a lot, and you can appreciate that. And that's what he's been. He's one of the better pass rushers. He's one of the more consistent guys, but he's not flashy. He just does his job. And I would say that at the end of the season, it'll be the same way. You'll walk up and he'll be one of the more productive guys, and you won't know his name because he's not as flashy as some of those other guys.